welcome to the first episode of the Ranger Football Report podcast. It'll be a weekly show that we're going to do, and it should be posted Thursdays before each game. But my name is Caleb Casa.
I'm Joel Geist.
We are the play-by-play and color commentators for your Forest Lake Rangers on Friday nights, and we love doing it. Joining us today is another member of the family started out doing Lakes area TV stuff with us, but has since kind of gone out on his own. Caleb Casa has started MNHS Football Network, which is, you want to tell us a little bit about what you do over there?
Yeah, Minnesota High School Football Network, just highlighting Minnesota high school football, basically. I didn't want to pigeonhole it to name it something where I couldn't cover high school football, so we're a broad spectrum. Follow us on Instagram, YouTube. I'm trying to get on Facebook because I know that's where parents are most, but we got a good following and a good community with Instagram and all the players, so it's growing well. It started last fall and continuing to grow.
So what you would say, as far as just a summary of what you do, kind of highlighting specific players, teams,
yeah. During the summer, I'm running around a lot, so I got to see not all teams and not even all 6A, but for those of you that don't know, there's 7 more classes. So just running around, basically covering whatever I can. I got out to see some Forest Lake off-season stuff against, like they went up to Bemidji State. I got to go up there for the second year in a row and see that. So that's always a fun trip. Like 7-on-7, so without the linemen, you get to see a good showcase of the skill guys as well. And yeah, man, just fun. Not just Forest Lake, but I've seen a lot of these teams already play. And the summer's a lot different than when you put pads on and you go, but at least you have an idea of what these teams are going to look like going into the
and last year, you went all the way up to the Iron Range last year.
Yeah, I was in
this year for week 0. You had a pretty long road trip.
Fertile, Minnesota, week 0, and that was a 9-man game. A 9-man championship was won by the Falcons, Fertile Beltrami. They had a week 0 game against Stephen Argyle, which I did preseason power rankings, and they were number 4 and number 1, so I thought it was worth the trip to go out there. It was 5 hours up and 5 hours down, and it was worth the trip, so it was fun. Got to see some of the players and, give them some highlights.
You'll be at Cretin for week 1, and that video will be posted on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, Cretin, that's at TCO. I'll be at Benilde, St. Margaret, and Stewartville, and I'm trying to have somebody at the Forest Lake game. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see.
And so a lot of the stuff, like if you just want a quick synopsis of a lot of these teams that we're going to be covering later, and possibly that Forest Lake is going to be playing, you do post quick little clips, so like you could see like a 10-minute clip, a little bit better than the news from their highlights. Mm-hmm. Caleb does a great job in getting a lot of the highlights, and it's kind of like the NFL plays that are like the plays of the game, where it just goes through and shows you each first down quick. Great way to have a good synopsis of the total game, and you can watch it in like 10 minutes.
I like to put everything in the game, and it's a 2-hour to 3-hour experience all crammed into 8 to 12-minute video. That's kind of
and it's great.
The idea behind it. So you don't have to go on a live stream and fast forward and click your screen to go through, because I was doing that watching the prior Forest Lake game from last year. I watched LATV's broadcast, and now I could have watched my highlight video, but I wanted to see more schematic wise and stuff like that, so you got to get a bird's eye view.
Well, watching the broadcast on our YouTube channel back is great when you want to watch the whole broadcast, but when you don't have the time for that, it's nice to get the quick synopsis. So I think today we're gonna start off with a little news segment, and then we'll go into breaking down the schedule. If anybody's interested, Caleb has done multiple episodes breaking down each team of all the classes, especially 6A, which is what Forest Lake plays in. And those are all over on his channel.
Recording a podcast tonight, actually, going over my power rankings.
So double podcasting it tonight.
A lot of it.
Great. So, do you got any we'll start with a little news segment. Do you got anything that you'd like to bring up from the off season?
None of the changes involve Forest Lake too much. Like in our section, Moorhead came up. I thought there was a chance that they came into our section, but they went up north. Forest Lake's obviously in the east. Rogers also got added. They were a 5A team. They moved up to 6A. Two teams that went down was Buffalo was one of them, which Forest Lake played in the playoffs last season. And one of them that was maybe going to go down was Coon Rapids, but they decided to stay, which is interesting because Coon Rapids sucked last year. They scored like 50 points the whole season.
Ooh, ouch.
That's rough.
We have some teams moving down. Mayo was the other one to move down, but we've never played Mayo in their 6A, and that was just a little 2-year stint they had at 6A, so they went down. And none of the other teams coming up are going to play Forest Lake in the regular season. Maybe we'll see them in the playoffs, but not too dramatic of a change.
How bad do you think B-Scout wants to play Andover at some point?
Yeah, I was hoping for that because we weren't supposed to play Prior Lake based on how the schedule goes. They don't, like whoever your out-of-conference games are, they don't want you to play that the next cycle, and it goes by 2-year cycles. So being Forest Lake fans, we know that Forest Lake played Prior Lake the last cycle both times, and Prior Lake away 2-3 years ago would be now. So we weren't technically supposed to play them, but it just happened that way, and the athletic directors have ability to switch the schedule around once they get out, but just the way they got to coordinate with like 3 other teams, and it makes it really difficult. They weren't able to Jimmy rig a different matchup in there, but also for as much as I hate it, I think it's a good rivalry that's kind of brewing, and you obviously have to win a game.
It's been a good game the past 2 years.
Win a game for it to be a rivalry, but just in terms of competitive games, it's been giving us a lot of fruits.
Well, it was also a good barometer. Last year, we thought we might be stepping down. We weren't sure what we had last year because we had a lot of underclassmen, a ton of seniors that left last year, and Prior Lake on the schedule right away. That was looking like it was going to be a really tough game, and they played Prior Lake tough. Played Prior Lake tough, and that was kind of the, oh hey, you know what? We got a team here, and it's good to get good teams like that right away. And also, like, now it is kind of a rivalry because those games have been close. They haven't been, super crazy blowouts.
Yeah. They've both been close throughout the entire game, but then both have basically come down to final second plays.
I mean, let's just hop into week 1.
Yeah,
Prior Lake, I feel like we're talking about them like they're higher than Forest Lake, which, at least in my opinion, isn't the case. And I feel like Forest Lake should have beat them last year. Now, I didn't get to see the game 2 years ago, but there were so many times where Forest Lake had Prior Lake on the ropes, and they hit 2 seam routes, which is not what Prior Lake does on us. And obviously won it in the last seconds last year. The way I see it is I see Forest Lake kind of like needing to win this game. With the expectations that at least I have for him and the expectations that a lot of people around the league circle do. Like, I've talked to coaches, and they've seen Forest Lake, and they also think Forest Lake is for real this year and that they're a more competitive team than the past 2 seasons. And if we lose to Prior Lake week 1, it's going to lose a lot of respect for Forest Lake.
Well, and just the preseason rankings that came out yesterday, we have Forest Lake at number 5, and Prior Lake they do have ranked, but they are back at 14. So yeah, I think losing to Prior Lake week 1 would be, like you were saying, kind of a blow to our egos, but our the credit that we do have right now.
Well, I mean, the one thing, when you said that it sounded like we were saying that Prior Lake was higher than we are. I didn't really believe that. But the thing was we knew that they were a pretty good program, have been a good program in the past, and we weren't sure what we had. This year we have a lot of returning players that got a lot of experience last year that were inexperienced, and to come out and lose to Prior Lake last year, I'm not going to say I expected it, but I wasn't surprised when we had a team that was fairly inexperienced at the varsity level.
Yeah. Well,
Does that list all teams? That's Mankato East on that list too?
the top 25.
So they do all classes.
Yeah, all classes together was that ranking. But
And Prior Lake was on it?
yeah, they had Prior Lake at 14.
Interesting.
Lots of talent returning on both sides of the ball. Who will replace Miles Greenwood at quarterback was their only note.
Well, that's kind of a big question, and especially,
It's for some offenses, but not Prior Lakes. They like I was looking at their formation. They had a fullback, they had a running back diagonal of the fullback, and they had a wing back. And I would say the replacing quarterback is not.
Doesn't
too
Prior
big of a
Lake
deal.
run close to like the Elk River Power T or whatever?
They like a lot of backs, and they like to run it. Like last year, they hit 2 seam routes on us, but it's not like you're thinking about Prior Lake passing. And it's weird that the quarterback is mentioned because I know I've heard that the quarterback, like they're questioning or just like they're down there, they're thinking about who is going to be quarterback. So in that sense, it is a big deal. But in terms of like looking at it from a macro sense, I don't think the quarterback's necessarily like the biggest deal in this matchup, especially for Prior Lake, just based on like their offense. If it was like Anoka, which we'll get into week 2, that's more of a different story, which I think the quarterback does play a super big factor. But yeah.
All right, so what are we thinking on the game?
Well, I think Forest Lake is favored, and I think a lot of people are going to have Forest Lake winning this game. I want to say that, but you have to think, like, the amount of disrespect that Prior Lake is getting with everybody just picking Forest Lake after Prior Lake has won the last 2 matchups, when it seems like everybody in the state's chalking this up to be Forest Lake's game pretty easily, and that's just a dangerous game to play, especially when you're walking into Forest Lake. I haven't talked to too many of the players in the locker room, but when you start approaching the game like you already have it or something like that of taking it too easy, which I don't know how you could have when you've lost to these guys the past 2 years.
Right.
So I don't think that should be too much of an issue, but there is always that thing where you guys do hear outside noise when you're playing, and I just hope that's not a factor. Forest Lake should win this game. It's just a matter if we know Prior Lake can steal it. What are the factors that can go into it? So.
Yeah, and I mean, personally, I believe, exactly what you're talking about. Prior Lake was a very big running team, and scheme matters. However, I will say that our defensive line, we're returning a lot of guys. Obviously, the monster in the room that we can talk about is Howie Johnson coming back. There was a lot of things that he did differently last year that he was not asked to just straight pass rush. He basically kind of dropped back, did a lot more run coverage and setting the edge. So this Forest Lake defense is a very, very experienced defensive line, and I would take them in a game that's probably about 5 point. We'll just call it a 5-point swing, and it can go either way. It's gonna be a rough game, and I think both teams are gonna run the ball well and start out running, and that's gonna be the offensive scheme right away.
Yeah, I wanted to get to this matchup just because Ethan Beckman's one of the top recruits in state. Howie Johnson's one of the top recruits in state. So
is Beckman the one that he was lined up against last year?
I'm assuming so. Is he a big, large male?
Yeah,
Yes.
He was like the big D1 recruit that they had, and it was going to be the battle. If I remember right, Schleif had a pretty decent game.
Very good game.
Because Howie was battling equal talent on the other end of
Well, he was
line.
getting equal talent, and also he was getting doubled.
Yeah,
they did crack back and double Howie a lot, even though it was that 2 Titans matchup.
One of the things, I could be wrong, but like in my film study of Prior Lake, we rushed 3 a lot, and that's how they burned us. When you have 3 D linemen to rush 5 offensive guys, especially when you have size like Prior Lake always does, a non-passing team can actually have time when they're not used to. Like maybe if we rush 5, they wouldn't necessarily have the time to throw those deep seam routes. But I think a lot of the time we were rushing 3 and our guys read, run, and then they bail out to the pass. I'd be interested to see what Burtness does in terms of scheme-wise of how he's going to change, because he's had 2 years to see Prior Lake, and what's he going to do differently now to beat him.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another close game, just like the past 2 years. Maybe even stay a one-score game. Ooh. But I just think that after 2 years of losing by 1 score and being at home, it's the first game of the season. Yes, there's the outside noise, but I think that if there's one thing that we know about B-Scout, he has not really had – I don't think we've really had a game that a team – we've had the Mounds View game last year, we came in flat. But I don't think that was a game that they came into thinking it was a walk in the park. It was just one that they came out flat. I don't think that B-Scout allows anybody to look past an opponent, and he's very intentional about that week. And so I think the boys are going to be fired up. Week 1 at home, Prior Lake, 2 losses in a row. I think we take week 1 by another one-score game, but I think the Rangers pull it out.
All right.
You got a prediction?
Oh, I said it was going to be within 5. I said it was going to be within 5. I like Forest Lake. I like Forest Lake to win. I'm going to say over under less than 38.
All right. Week 2, Rangers go on the road to Anoka. Joel and I talked. There was a whole podcast episode that we did earlier this week from the scrimmage that we are not posting because everything went wrong. But in that, we talked about Anoka having possibly one of the cooler stadiums in 6A football.
Goodrich Field, yeah, it's nice.
Being out in the middle of town, one that we implored a lot of our viewers and listeners to come on out to and watch that one, because it is a cool.
It's a cool venue. Basically, you're just kind of dropping down, and it's kind of in a bowl.
Yeah.
Which, if it's windy that day, it's really rough on punting and kicking because the wind kind of catches at a top. You don't really feel it on the field as much. So as long as it's not windy that day, it should be a great place to play.
What do you got for us for Anoka?
Yeah, Anoka, they made it to the bank, obviously. Lost in the semifinals to, I think, Shakopee. But a really good team, Bo Wazarek being their coach. This is like a tale of 2 teams. If you have Prior Lake and then you have the exact opposite of Anoka. Very air raid-ish. They like to get the ball out of the hands quickly of the quarterback. Peyton Padani was their senior quarterback last year, had a really good year for him. They like to use the short side of the field a lot with their receivers, and they had a D1 receiver that went to, I don't know, somewhere in Iowa or Illinois, I think, UNI, and he was a really good player as well. They have a lot of playmakers that are leaving, so Zach Welch also, you guys probably said his name a lot on the broadcast when they played in Anoka. He's also leaving. So the top running back, top 2 receivers, top quarterback are leaving for this team. But with that being said, I think they have a lot of talent coming. Blake Siebens, one of my favorite quarterbacks in 6A. I think a little bit of a different look than Peyton Badani. I would say he's a little bit more athletic. I think they're going to use him use his legs a little bit more this season, just seeing his JV film that he put up last year. I got this team 1 ranked, and I don't know where the Star Tribune ranked their teams, but in my 6A power rankings, I have Anoka at 7th and Forest Lake at 8th. So I know pre-rankings, preseason rankings are destined to change. I don't know where they'll be, going into week 2 and where I have them ranked, but I think Anoka's right up there, and judging based on if I had to pick a preseason, especially away, Forest Lake played Anoka 2 years ago, right?
2 years ago away.
Mm-hmm. 2 years ago away. And one of the best comebacks of the.
Yes,
okay.
It was a comeback win.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a big test because, if we struggle with Prior Lake in the past, been a tendency of, like, I remember a Stillwater game 2 years ago where we just got diced up in the pass. Anoka's going to try to do that to us as much as possible. It's just a matter of can we stop it? And I know we got some new DJ Westman Brooks Roan also is a safety that the coaches really like, coming in and taking that safety spot over. I'd look out for him, especially this game. Anybody in the secondary, really. And
Savageau flashed in the secondary a little bit last year. That was going to be my thing coming into this one, was who takes over the outside corner spots, because we had such amazing play by Connor last year.
DJ's going two ways. That's all signs have pointed to that.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting. Like, as long as the secondary can kind of pick up the slack of losing Thill and McPhee over the last year or two.
Well, Tomakung kind of turned it on a little bit. He turned it on a little bit last year. You could tell early on he was pretty green out there, and
he started. He got benched because they couldn't trust him, and
then he came on.
Season, he earned the trust and started to play better. It was interesting. He's one of the guys that I work with, like, in the off season, of just, like, he plays for the 7-on-7 team, and he's one of our best receivers on the team, which he doesn't play a lot of receiver for Forest Lake. He plays more DB, which at least in traveling 7-on-7 is kind of his, like, second spot, but for this team it's DB, and he's obviously a great athlete. That's why he started as a sophomore. The coaches think he could, so the potential's in there. It's just a matter of now being physical enough, and he got beat a couple times in Bemidji State. He's got to shorten up on that, but it's my guy. I like to be hard on him because I expect a lot from him. But definitely is going to be important in this game to cover either the X or the Z receiver on the wide side of the field for sure.
To answer your question, Strib Varsity does not have Anoka ranked in their top 25.
Man, yeah. Hey, they probably. It's top 25. I think they did all the classes, so they can only cover so many teams.
Yeah,
when you do that kind of work.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the game?
I mean, based on my preseason power rankings, all right, I know this is tough, and I think Forest Lake does. Like, if I were to put a percentage on it, this is close to 50-50, and I'd like to see after week 1 to make my pick. I think right now it would be easy to chalk Forest Lake up as, okay, everybody graduated from this Anoka team. Forest Lake's definitely going to win because we had all our experience last year. When this is Anoka's year to get experience, I don't think it's going to be that easy. To be honest, I really like this Anoka team, and I would reserve my pick for after week 1. I know we have to pick it. I would lean towards Forest Lake right now, but I could very well see Anoka winning this thing. I think Anoka's playing Eden Prairie week 1, and that's kind of not that Eden Prairie and Forest Lake run the same offense, but Eden Prairie is a smash mouth in your face, and that's what Forest Lake is in a sense, although it looks different scheme-wise. If Anoka handles Eden Prairie, and I don't think Eden Prairie's that good of a team this year, but they're going to be good enough to expose weaker teams, especially defensively. So I think that's going to be the tell, and that's going to be, that's going to decide who I pick. If I'm going to pick Forest Lake, if I'm going to keep my pick of Forest Lake, or go towards Anoka week 2.
All right. Well, I'll go on record.
I went on record. I said Forest Lake right now.
I'll go on record. In a situation where there's 2 completely different teams like this, probably like the first week and Anoka the second week, I do like our pass rush to maybe be a little bit frustrated from week 1, that, hey, we really didn't get after anybody, and we know this team is going to pass. So, pin the ears back and go. Defensive line is going to absolutely give them fits. Because this is going to be one of the first times, and it's against Anoka, who played really well. This is one of the teams for Forest Lake to really get respect in 6A. For anybody that's kind of looked at it and remembered Forest Lake, you know what? We're not really going to take them too seriously because, hey, we've never had to. this game right here in Anoka is going to be a game that they are going to get respect back in. And I'm going to say that there's going to be, at minimum, 4 sacks in that game.
All right.
And I'm going to take Forest Lake by 6.
Sounds good. I'm going to paint you a real quick picture. Forest Lake coming off of a big win against Prior Lake week 1, getting that monkey off their back. And then I'm going to say Eden Prairie kind of messes up Anoka week 1, so they don't come in so confident in what they got. The inexperience shows in week 1, and we go play in the bowl where it gets windy, and a certain team has a heck of a time trying to pass the ball in that weather condition. Forest Lake with Mac just runs all over them. I think Rangers win week 2.
All right. So that's 3 consensus. Yeah. With the reservation that you want to see them after
I'm
week
going to
1.
make my picks weekly just because there is so many things that go into it.
That's true.
I would say the Prior Lake, Forest Lake one's easy because we're right here. But there's so many things that can go into it. Obviously, we don't know that, and you guys are picking knowing that can change. But
I just picked off of a weather instance that I made up in my head, so take mine with a grain of salt. Week 3.
All right.
We move
Moving
on. Back home, we have Park of Cottage Grove, the Guardian Caps.
Do we have to spend a lot of time on this?
We don't have to if you don't have a whole lot to say.
Forest Lake's probably easiest to win other than Roseville. Parker's one of the teams that are probably hoping to go down in Class 3 alignments, and
they just have too many kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not that they don't have talent, but they had talent. I think 2 of their best players last year are going to SMSU, but even that didn't lead them to a successful season. And going under, you're going to see them running the triple option now. They're going under an offensive coordinator change. So I think they're going to be running some sort of wing T action. It's going to look probably a lot like Eden Prairie from what I've heard of. They just were a spread team, and now they're going smash mouth, which I don't think is going to help them at all.
And from last year when I helped you film a couple of their games, they didn't have the size to run smash mouth football.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And one thing that I will say, we haven't really got on to Forest Lake squad at all, but Brad Biscow, in order to bring back a 1980s commercial reference, the "Where's the Beef" is definitely in Forest Lake.
We got some
now.
corn-fed linemen.
We have the meats on the line. There was multiple guys that are pushing 300. And
you had a lineman come from Duluth Denfeld. I'm not sure his name, but he was a transfer that came down that kind of fell right into Forest Lake's lap that the coaches are really happy about. Like you're talking about, just things are aligning for this Forest Lake line to be really good this year.
It's very rude that they're flying a chopper right over our podcast here.
I don't think we should spend any more time. This one I'm fine to go on the record and be Forest Lake is going to win this game.
Yeah.
And if they don't, there's going to be alarms ringing, fire alarms. There's going to be tornado sirens going in Forest Lake, and I'll set them off.
I think this one I may have had 2 weeks into the school year, us picking homecoming for week 2 of the school year, just because,
This is homecoming for us?
I don't know if it is. I haven't gotten word of which game is going to be homecoming, but I'm guessing it's either going to be Park or Woodbury, and I would guess when I was playing and Forest Lake was having their rough seasons, we were a lot of other teams' homecoming games because it was going to be a game that people could come home and watch success.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a bad option for that.
Yeah. Not in favor of that, but whatever.
What, you want to go against Woodbury the next week?
No, Woodbury's not that good either. I want to go against a good team. Now that Forest Lake's on a different level, apparently.
Oh, it looks like homecoming's going to be week 1 against Prior Lake.
I think it should be against Eastridge.
Eastridge. I mean,
Sure.
Eastridge is a good squad.
Sure.
But whatever.
So yeah, I'm gonna say Forest Lake.
Forest Lake.
A lot of my picks are gonna come from just what I think as far as size and if we can run the ball against these teams. Jurkovic he looks like he was definitely in the weight room. His lower body is cut right now, and man, I think that kid is in for a huge season. Especially with the size of the line that we have. If Forest Lake gets a lead against a lot of these teams, it's going to be hard for him to get back in.
Yeah. Forest Lake 3-0.
Definitely this game.
Week 4, Woodbury at home.
I think that's another case of not a ton of time needs to be spent. Woodbury, they've been trending down. Woodbury used to be a pretty formidable team. I think 2021, their record's been dropping by 2 losses every time, and they had 2 losses last year. So it's if that trend stays the same, they're going for 0 losses. But I think, I got to see Woodbury. It's not that I don't think they're going to be as bad, huh?
All losses?
Sure.
Okay.
0.
So they're
0 wins.
They had 2 wins last season. They've been trending down by 2 wins every season. Doing math, that would get them to 0 this season. If we were just
that would be 0
wins. You said 0 losses.
Sorry.
Oh, good. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. So, I've got to see them. They impressed in a 7-on-7, but they were going against Park. So I think Woodbury's better. They got a couple good tight ends, but I think it's another game where Forest Lake should walk over the opponent, to say it lightly, and definitely a win that when you look at this, if you're going to chalk up 2 wins, it's going to be Park and Woodbury for Forest Lake.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I mean, I'm not going to go against that.
I'm going to keep going homer picks, so I'm saying 4-0 heading into week 5 against White Bear Lake, the battle for the paddle at White Bear.
I like Tommy Mason. I got to announce this game 2 years ago as a sophomore, and I remember kind of highlighting how much I liked him, and that's just grown over the time. I've got to see him, and I think he's on a lesser team, and that's kind of just the reality of high school football. I know White Bear's also going under some sort of an offensive change, and I haven't got to see theirs. They got some Forest Lake blood in them now, at least. The offensive line coach, Forest Lake's offensive line coach, went to White Bear and is now their OC. I heard it's not going to be anywhere close to, Forest Lake's offense, which was a rumor, but apparently that's not going to be so. More of a zone team. I don't know if they're probably more spread, but I feel like that's kind of what they ran last year. So we'll see the difference. But Easton Miles is the running back playmaker for White Bear team that I think is going to be better than last year. But from what I can remember, White Bear was kind of weird. They beat a weird team. They just they weren't a good team last year. They got pounded by Mountains View when I got to watch them. But I think this is a White Bear team that's 25th on my preseason rankings. I would say tier below, but I think Forest Lake only beat them by 7 last year.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. The one reason that this is always like a trap game for me is for some reason White Bear really comes out of their shell and plays Forest Lake hard every single time. And
what is Forest Lake's
that paddle rivalry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, rivalry games, the old saying is, you can't predict rivalry games because they can go anyway. White Bear can be 0-8, or Forest Lake can be losing for 4 seasons straight, and
it was longer than that.
they can win. So you definitely don't want to chalk this up as a win going into it. But again, if you had to pick, you're expecting Forest Lake to take care of business here. I don't know what the struggle was last year to beat a White Bear team by 7. That was
well, that was one we really didn't even get to watch.
Yeah,
because we were not able to be there.
Weird, but I think Forest Lake wasn't at the level that we're predicting they are this season as well. So I think that plays a part into it. So, yeah. But again, if I had to predict, I'd say Forest Lake another winner in this one. I think they probably have one loss at this point, depending on if it's Anoka or Prior Lake. So I know I've said that they're going to win every game, but it's possible that they drop one. And I would hope they're going, what is this, week 5? So 4-1 going into week 5. I think that'd be good. If Forest Lake drops one of the 2 first games, it's not the end of the world. But to win these ones where you must win it is pretty important for them. So.
Well, I mean, everything it's important, but also with the way that the brackets work out, you still get a shot either way. So yes, it looks terrible for the team rankings wise. You'd have to go up against the tougher teams. But when we're talking about a Forest Lake team, if just all of a sudden something went off the rails one time, Anoka, I don't believe that they were seeded very high last year, and they came in and made
They were a 1 or 2 seed last year.
Really?
Yep.
I thought there was an upset. They didn't. Oh, the
Lakeville
thing was
South,
they had to go. They had to go to Lakeville South and North.
I know Lakeville North is a 1 seed, but Anoka was 1 seed of that, or they were a 2 seed because Maple Grove was in their section. So Anoka was a 2 seed. Yeah, they went through the Lakevilles and. But I think that's also an interesting point because, like, my thing is when you look at this, everybody's looking at why Forest Lake hasn't got out of round 2, and that can also be a big thing of. Don't mess around with your food in the regular season. So you play a really good Blaine team, in round 2. You want to play something less than that, and you'll take it. Obviously, winning. Like you said, winning it isn't the end of the world. You can still come back from it and, have a good season and get to state like Anoka did. But at the same time, you want the easiest path to go in. And these other sections with, Shakopee moving down south, and the West is absolutely loaded with, 4 of these teams are in my top 10. So one of those teams is going to be like a 5 seed, and Eden Prairie could even be a 6 seed this year in the playoffs.
It's a good team for 6.
And exactly, that's the thing. So you can't mess around with the regular season. And like you said, it's not the end of the world, but I think that's Forest Lake's goal should be to be better than these past seasons. So.
All right.
Yeah, agreed. You got a prediction for White Bear?
I said we should win it, and I think we're on a different level. Is Tommy going to stun us? I don't know. He's at 2 years. This is his last hurrah. I would say maybe this is probably White Bear Lake's homecoming game. If I haven't looked, but if I was White Bear's AD, I would put homecoming here, just because that's
big rivalry,
a really fun atmosphere to be at, and hopefully White Bear's looking good. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I would really enjoy going to the game, and hopefully we can do a broadcast at that game because I think it's going to be a great game. Usually is. And I'm taking Forest Lake on the road.
5-0.
I'd say we're 4-1. even though I've predicted wins for every game.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
There, and me, I said that like both of those games were going to be within 1 score.
I think White Bear is going to be a tough game, but I just think we win it. That's the way it boils down for me. All right. October 3rd, Eastridge at Forest Lake. Your pick for homecoming?
Yeah, Cedric Tomes, a really good quarterback, really good basketball player. I think he's committed to Minnesota or something. Something to that extent of being a really good athlete. Eastridge was a weird team last season. They tend to struggle with their opponents, and then they go and play a Lakeville North and they beat them, which was one of the best teams in 6A. So it's kind of like a wild card. When you pull Eastridge, you don't really know what team you're going to get. The good thing is, if you're in the East, you're probably going to get the lesser of Eastridge, what history has told us. But I mean, I think this is definitely one of the tougher ones. I think when you look at their schedule and you kind of think that those 3 or 4 opponents before them are going to be lesser, and then there's going to be, I think, a jump in talent and size against Eastridge. I think that's something to note going into this game that could be a factor that plays into Forest Lake maybe a better team than them, but also Eastridge has an advantage going into this game. I think it's going to be interesting. What was the Eastridge Forest Lake score? Forest Lake won, right?
Last year.
Yeah. Pretty sure Forest Lake won.
Yeah, we beat Eastridge 22-18 at home.
A really close game. That's one of those things where one-score games can easily flip the next year, and Eastridge could be walking out of here with a win instead of a loss. And it's just kind of a reality. So, yeah.
So you said that they had a size advantage.
Well, I know they have a couple good linemen, for sure, and
as far as experience as far as quarterback and receivers go.
Oh, Tomes it was his first year last year. He struggled with turnovers a bit, but just talent-wise, he's one of the best in state, for sure. And I don't know receiver-wise. I know they had like a tight end, Kyle Frent, that you could probably clearly see him because he was like 6'8".
I remember calling his name a handful of times.
He went to Wyoming, so they have some playmakers leaving, but at the same time, Eastridge is always going to have some sort of guys to replace them.
Right.
And now they have the guy to get him the ball. They're more spread, RPO-ish, to get the ball out of the hands, let Tomes make plays, which is something Forest Lake struggled with. And that could be a recipe for disaster in a possible homecoming. I don't know what homecoming game is, but in this home game that could cause trouble for Forest Lake, but we'll see. Eastridge was my dark horse to possibly have, because I think a lot of people were thinking it's either Forest Lake or Moundsview, and then Stillwater's kind of creeped up in there. But I think Eastridge has the talent to at least challenge one of these teams, and especially no matter who's going to win, I don't think they're immune to an Eastridge upset by any means. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. Well, I was going to do what you picked on the Anoka side. This right in here, in the 1st of October range, this is always the week where we have the rainy, crappy game, cold. This one.
Predicting weather again.
We're predicting weather. I'm going for it. You know me, O-line and weather. Let's just go for it. This one I think is going to be a mess. Just a mess. And it's gonna come down to basically fourth quarter, final play. I have a feeling this might be if you do get out to Forest Lake Stadium, it's gonna be crappy weather. Bring some gear, but this one is gonna be worth sitting on those bleachers, cold and wet and rainy. This one's gonna be a great game. I'm gonna say that this one's going to be in the 30 to 27 range. Just,
a lot of
scoring, and I like. I mean, I'm Forest Lake announcer, so I'm going to Forest Lake in a rainy, cold game.
I also like the weather take there. And I think it's gonna. I think that this one definitely could be one that comes down to the deuce again with Mac. I think Mac's gonna have his fingerprints all over this game, and I'm gonna go with the 6th win of the season for the Rangers, which takes us to away at Moundsview.
Gonna get killed. I wasn't expecting that result last year. That kind of surprised me.
No, that was terrible.
Because I didn't get to watch it, but I just tuned in, and the only score the Rangers scored was a garbage time touchdown.
We had the unfortunate experience of watching that game.
A good team.
That was one of those games that you wanted to pack up at halftime, but you're there to do a job, so you just gotta stay.
That was a lot of filler. It was a tough game. It was a tough game.
Coach Moberg is a really good coach, and Moundsview is one of the better coaching staffs in 6A. It's really big D-line guys. They're big D-line coach, and they got two of the most underrated D linemen. I think I touched on it in my preview podcast, but the Essie brothers, Robert Essie being the oldest, but he's also got a younger brother that's up and coming as well, and you'll be seeing both of them on the field at the same time. One's going to be nose, one's going to be end, and I think this section's a D-line section. You got Howie Johnson, Nate Schleif's nothing to not talk about, even though probably one of the most underrated dudes in the section. And then we'll go to, we'll talk about Stillwater and their deal, but Mounds View isn't talked about enough with their two linemen. And, yeah, man, I think it's going to be a dogfight. Sampson's gone, Olson's gone, who's their running back.
Their QB left too, didn't he?
Yep, Sampson. Yeah. But Beckham Wheeler, he's going to be starting for them. He's going to be a senior, a really tall dude. I think he's like 6'5", 6'6". Impressive arm. Monsview they used Sampson a lot in the run game, which I don't think they're going to be able to do as much with Wheeler. So it'll be interesting to see how their offense kind of shifts as these high school offenses figure out their identities over the season. I know they got a couple good players. Godson Rufus Okamhanru is one of the big dudes on this team as far as playmaker wise. Number 8. I don't know if you guys got to see him scoring touchdowns on Forest Lake last year, but he's a littler dude. More of like a slot receiver type stuff. He played a lot of corner.
I do remember that guy, but it was a lot of Samson. I remember
Samson dominated that game.
Samson.
From what I've heard, in this scrimmage, apparently Godson wasn't playing a lot of offense, but I was predicting him to be kind of the Samson basically for this offense of how are they going to use him to really replace a void that is leaving in Samson. And so it'll be interesting to see if their plan is to not use him as much on offense. I know he can go two ways. Apparently he's playing more corner than he is both ways, but I think he'll be playing both ways. Some of those scrimmages are hard to tell. Like Forest Lake didn't play a lot of their guys. Howie didn't even suit up and is on the sideline. So I try not to take the final scrimmages as an overreaction to a sense. I know he was also dealing with a hamstring injury, and I know those linger. Vikings fans know Justin Jefferson injured his hamstring and is out for half of the season, which you think about it, but half of the season for the NFL is the whole season for high school.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not the case for him, but sometimes those things happen, and when you do that, it can sometimes linger. Like I said, I hope not, because he's a really good player, and I want to see him play. So we'll see, but I think Mounds View not going to be as good as last year. I don't have them as being a top-tier 6A team, but I think that's more of a wait and see. Especially when you get this far down into the season, predicting what it's going to be is going to be whatever. So I think Forest Lake, it's about time that we get Mounds View. I think Forest Lake's going to have a lot of motivation after getting embarrassed by Mounds View last season.
Absolutely.
But that can also go the other way if Mounds View has the utmost confidence in, even if they have a bad year, they can walk into a Forest Lake team and be, okay, we can win these guys. And you don't walk into it thinking that you're going to lose, but you walk into it with the confidence of in a good way that they know they can kill these guys, and they go out and do it. I wouldn't be surprised if Forest Lake wins, or I wouldn't be surprised if Mounds View wins.
Well, I'm gonna take Forest Lake because, for one thing, I know that Brad Beeskow is not going to come out flat, and the mental mistakes that we had last year, there was so many penalties in that game, and just drive killing and drive extending penalties. I remember at least three false starts that gave them first downs that they would have stopped, and that they all led to scores, and it was a really that game I would consider was the mental breakdown and the mental check of that team last year. Hey guys, this is what can happen if we don't have focus on this team. And I'm going to say that there is no way that they walk into that same venue and do the same thing that they did last year. So I'm taking Forest Lake.
I think that, two things. One, I think Sampson leaving is a huge deal. I would say last year, if I'm not mistaken, but I have vivid memories of this. I remember the penalties were a problem, but then I also remember that week we seemed to want to run the speed option more than we did against any other team, and all Mounds View ran was the speed option to perfection.
Yes.
So their defense, practicing against basically their offense all week, played our speed option better. And in here, I believe this fumble return for a touchdown by Malstein for 54 yards was a failed speed option play. And Forest Lake ran the speed option well a handful of times last year, but it was always one or two times a game.
Yep.
For some reason, I remember Mounds View, we called that play more than we ever did in any other game.
Yep.
And I remember being frustrated about it. And so I think coaching differently, knowing what we know now, I think B-Scout has a different game plan for the game. I think obviously our defense, we've been talking about how good our D-line's going to be. This will be a great running team that they got to shut down. But I am going to do what I did in our failed broadcast the other day. There's something about Forest Lake playing Mounds View, especially at Mounds View Stadium, that they just got some sort of voodoo tricks and calls go their way.
3 years ago, the touchback.
There's a touchback. Yeah, there was a clear touchback that was never called. We've had some weird happenings. I think Mounds View 2 years ago was our overtime game that we did win. But it's always a weird game, and it always seems to go whoever is home.
Wasn't Mounds View that rainy game, that rainy overtime
Yeah, I
game?
think it was a swatted pass at the end of the game. Forest Lake ended up winning, but I believe that there was controversy in that one, and that was the reason we went to overtime. So if there was a game that I could see being a sneaky trap game for Forest Lake and Forest Lake losing, I think it might be that Mounds View game.
I wouldn't consider Mounds View a trap game, but I agree with you, but I don't agree with the whole trap game aspect.
I think it's one more than some of the other games that people would, kind of like you saying, like you don't necessarily have Mounds View ranked as like a top 6A team. It's one that a lot of people would be confident in Forest Lake winning and would be more or less surprised if it went the other way, is all I meant. And I think if I was going to pick a loss on the schedule, Mounds View at Mounds View, late October or mid-October, I could see that being the case. So there's my challenge. Prove me wrong on Mounds View. Walk into Mustang Stadium and beat them.
All right. So, the elephant in the room. The final game.
The horse in the room?
The horse, the pony in the room.
Well, the pony, but, I mean, definitely a lot more formidable than a pony.
At Stillwater, last game of the season, always the worst of weather conditions that late at Stillwater for some reason. My senior year, it snowed. I feel like every other year that we've been there, we've had some sort of weather. Caleb, what do you got for us for Stillwater?
Well, 5 months ago, I would have said this is going to be an easy win for Forest Lake, but in doing some digging, some watching, obviously Nick Kinsey left. He played his first game in Ohio with his Hoban squad, which is absolutely loaded. If you have a look at the team that Nick Kinsey went to, you see why he left. Although you don't like to see players leave. He's got Ohio State commits. He's got Division I commits. He's got, whatever down there. But, yeah, so a void in replacing. But Stillwater's kind of been in this, and talking to other coaches, there's kind of like a weird middle ground they're playing in terms of like offensive identity. 2 years ago, they were Nick Kinsey super spread, get the ball out, we're going to pass it, and we're going to pass it and you're going to know, and we're still going to pass it. And Forest Lake was the victim to that 2 years ago. And then last year they kind of, I don't know if there's an offensive coordinator change or whatever, but they always had an I formation and they would go to it. But they went to it a lot more last season, and they turned into this pro I team instead of a spread team, a 10 personnel team. They went to tight end, they went to a fullback, and they have Emilio Rosario Matias that is a really good running back, one of the best in state. But also it was weird that you have one of the good quarterbacks in the state, and that you are kind of like going away from it. And I feel like that maybe led into Nick Kinsey's decision to leave as well. I have no idea, but I mean, if I was in his position and I had the opportunity, I would do exactly what he did. And so there's kind of a void left in. I haven't got to the scrimmage. I think a name was Jack Runk that I think is going to be starting for him. I know he's a baseball player. I don't know if he's going to be starting or it's going to be somebody else, but everybody else around him I think is really good. They have probably, is it hyperbole to say, I don't think it is. They have probably the best receiver of the section, and Carter Zoller, really, really big dude, really good. I don't think he showed up much. I think it was more Owen Eggy that was the dynamite for Stillwater in last year's matchup. I think he scored twice on us, but he's gone now. He's at Edina, so Forest Lake won't have to worry about him. But Zoll is probably going to be like the guy now that's going to go up against Bobby DeFore and DJ on the other side, and he's going to be a lot bigger than him. So play action passes, deep shots, I'd watch out. He can definitely go get the ball. That's going to be a ground and pound team. This is also probably one of the best D lines in the state as well, with Afoye and Olson, two guys. One's going to Iowa State. Off the top of my head, I don't know where the other guy's going, but Division I talent in two of them, not just the one that Forest Lake has. So definitely a formidable. This is probably I'd say the best matchup against like D-line to offensive. Our identity is we want to run the ball, and now they're going to have the ability to stop it. So definitely this is going to be one of the more interesting games. And by the way this shakes out, this could be very well for like who gets one seed in our section. So if I had to predict, there's going to be like a lot of marbles on this game. Like this is going to be one of the most important games for Forest Lake, I think, in the past how many years to solidify themselves as the one seed. Now it's just a matter of if they can do it.
Well, 2 years ago was the rain delay game that we had to play it out, and that was the 2 hour delay.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of eyeballs on that, and for everybody that has liked and subscribed to Lakes Area TV, which you should do right now, if you like this podcast. Also, it would have notified you that at 12:30 we were going back on that night. That was a crazy game, the Stillwater game, the
touchdown balls, right off the fingertips of receivers.
Yep. And this game, oddly enough, I think even last year it was late in the season too, wasn't it?
Last year I think it was a little bit early. Wow. A little bit earlier.
I think it was like middle, because that was when we did the pregame show.
Yep, dead middle. Yep.
But I feel like Stillwater's always a game that winds up being towards the end of the year anyways.
But yeah, I mean, Stillwater, tough opponent. You can never count them out. And I mean, just that stadium's a tough place to play. I mean, the amount of people that were there, the facilities look great.
Mm-hmm. Shout out they always let us come broadcast there, which is always so nice.
And I mean, a great school. I can't say every experience that I've been to with Stillwater, that was great. And then 2 years ago, we stuck around. We had a lot of the Stillwater fans come back and watch our broadcast. Got some feedback from them. That was great. It's this Stillwater game. You could say that White Bear Lake used to be, is the rivalry, but lately this is the game.
I think Stillwater's always been up there as well. Yeah.
This is the game that everybody looks at, and because Stillwater they got great coaching, great program, always a good team, and this is kind of the barometer between if you're going to be a solid team or if you're just maybe going to win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think that, like you guys have both said, it's going to be a close game. There's going to be a lot riding on it going into the end of the year. And I'm going to say that this one goes to... It's going to go the way of the team that capitalizes on the other team's first mistake. There's going to be a turnover or offsides call on a 3rd and 5 or just something like that that's going to swing the momentum. And I think that's the way that it's going to go. So I'm not going to call on that one.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to leave this one as a mystery as well.
Stop. You guys have been putting wins the whole time. Just go ahead. Make them 8-0. Do it.
I said Mounds View was going to be a loss.
Oh, you did.
I punched Mounds View in as a loss. And
Just
I think
talking about the season as a whole, I would say it's really hard to go undefeated. Really hard. That's not expectation. But 1 to 2 losses. If Forest Lake's walking out with anything less, or how do you say this? Anything more than 2 losses, so like 5-3, I would expect better from Forest Lake. I think 6-2, 7-1 is about where they should be. Where they should be hanging.
I think we're going to be 6-1 going into Stillwater, and it's going to be Forest Lake controls their own destiny as far as you're either the 1 or the 2, and you got a little bit harder way to get to the bank.
Those last 3 games are tough. Eastridge, Mounds View, Stillwater, all back to back to back. Really tough, important section games as well.
And
we'll throw White Bear in there. They always play tight.
And the other thing is like it also, like, especially with these big matchups like this, like Matthias was a beast last year, and Jurkovic is one of the main spark plugs to this Forest Lake Rangers team, and I'm not going to say one thing or the next, but injuries are always one play away, and this deep in the season, it's going to be who's the most healthy. It's there is a lot to be said about the depth that you have, but there's also a lot to be said on, like, this guy's our absolute playmaker, and you lose a guy, maybe a guy steps up, but if say we lose some people on the offensive line like we did. We lost a quarterback. We lost a quarterback 2 years ago. There's everybody needs to be healthy at the end of the season in order for these games to really, really, and who knows? I mean, depending on the matchup, some guys might not even play if the brackets are pretty much set, and I'm not saying that, either one of these teams are going to be, 7-0, 6-0, 7. Actually, it would be 7-0. I would say, even though, like Caleb has said, that I have picked mostly wins. I've also picked a lot of 1-score games. And you pick a 1-score game, and it doesn't matter. You're like, once you get to the 4th quarter, you flip a quarter, and somebody could break one, somebody could have a scoop and score. There's a whole bunch of things that can happen. But as far as what you would think, I like that we have been playing Stillwater hard. 2 years ago we lost to them. Last year we beat them. And, I'm going to say that we come away with a win, our first televised win in Stillwater.
All right, I like it. Caleb, as we're wrapping up here, do you got anything else you'd like to add as far as news or storylines, stuff to watch? Anything like that?
I don't know. 6-2. I think the big narrative is Forest Lake going to get past round 2. That was kind of I did a preview pod of all of 6A, and we tried to limit it to 3 words, but I had to do more because that's just been the story of the B-Scout era so far. And I think that the general perception is that we've been better than a 2, or at least from Forest Lake. Like, he's taken us really far and above what the expectation was. So the expectations were Forest Lake, can we get 1 win? Can we get 2? Oh my gosh, we got 2 wins. And now the B-Scout has taken over. It's, okay, you have 6 wins, that's fine. You have 7 wins, that's fine. But, like, we want more. We want the bank. I want to taste U.S. Bank Stadium. And that's kind of the expectation, at least in my mind. Not saying that they're going to get there for sure, but, I expect Maple Grove and Minnetonka to win state. I can expect them both to win knowing that one of them's not going to win. So my expectation is to get to the bank. I know, I expect some other teams to get to the bank, that things happen. But if everything rolls right, this is B-Scout's, best chance under his, tenure so far with the Rangers to make a state run. So I think if we don't get past round 2, I am going to be personally disappointed, just because I've seen this team in the summer. I've seen what B-Scout's done with this team to be like, we can make state, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do. And it's like we've caught fire. Everybody has expectations for us. It's not just the community now, but it's the Star Tribune.
Yeah, we're ranked 5 out of all of the classes.
All the classes. For Forest Lake to be here from 5 years ago would be you'd be like, no, they aren't. So, yeah, man. Expectations are high. Now it's just, can you answer the bell? Because Forest Lake expectations have never really been high.
Yeah, I have expectations for this season. I have a lot of them. Last year was the first year that I can say that our offensive line was better than most teams that we played. This year, I want to be better than all of the teams on our O-line. And I you know what? I haven't seen some of the underclassmen that came up. We did lose quite a few. We lost Lachek and Mason Vollrath. And they were huge parts of why that offensive line was really good. But I think these younger guys, seeing those guys every day in practice, what they did, going back, and if they can look at the tapes, see what they did, and just those guys teaching these young kids coming up, I think that this offensive line is ready for a big step. And they definitely have the size to do it. Now we just need to see if they have the ability to get off the ball quickly. A lot of those guys that I was seeing in practice and the friends and family night, those guys hit the weight room and they're taking it seriously. And I definitely would agree with Caleb that expectations are high and these kids are working their ass off. Pardon my French. These kids are working their butts off trying to get to that more is required stage, and they know that more is required of this team, because I guarantee you there is going to be some really, really high expectations for one player in particular that is D1 recruit.
Mac Jerkovich.
Howie Johnson has been through this team when they were not so good. Howie Johnson started as a freshman. This team had just been, hey, we can get a couple of wins. And, that's what he saw. That's what he saw coming up. And, in 7th, 8th grade, that's what he expected. He got to this team. He made this team as a freshman. He was flying around. And he is one of the centerpieces to why this team has been so good on defense and has been in a lot of these games that have been one-score games or have been overtime games. And I really hope everything goes well, and I'm hoping for a big season. I know last year he was expected to do a lot more, like drop back into coverage that he really didn't have to do his freshman year. He came in and said, here you go. There's the quarterback. Go get him. Like, he didn't really have to worry about too much in the dropping back game, covering a tight end that comes out. And he took on a lot more of that role last year. And his numbers did see a slight step down, but it wasn't because he was producing less. He was actually doing more. So I think he definitely took everything that he needed to heart. And this year, I think he's going to make a statement this year. So that's my expectations of the season. And
I think I got pretty close to the same expectations. I made the prediction the other night at Friends and Family Night that this is the year. We're going to the bank this year. Maybe not all the way to the championship, but we're making it to the first round at the bank. I think that Connor is going to impress in year 2.
He looked good.
The first play at Friends and Family Night was a bomb to Savageau, and it was beautifully placed, hauled in. If we could see that a couple of times. No, straight down the sideline. Fade ball. Okay. Savageau beat the coverage, and it was a beautiful play, beautiful ball, great catch. And I think if we could see that a few times throughout the year, and then obviously I'm just excited to see what we get out of Mac.
He's going to wear gloves this season.
Especially, he wasn't at Friends and Family Night. He wasn't wearing gloves.
Dude, he's too good to not wear gloves.
He changed his number too. He went from 22 to 2. So we've coined the phrase, the deuce is loose. That's going to be used a lot.
Apparently, he doesn't wear gloves because Forest Lake likes to do a lot of triple options, and it's a quarterback decision of him saying that he doesn't want you to wear gloves because
it tacks the ball up a little too much.
I don't know. That's the rumor I've heard, which is absurd to me. But
I'd have to go back and check the couple when he had his fumble problem at the beginning of the season last year.
Yeah,
if he was wearing gloves or not.
I don't think he was. I don't believe he was. And that was I think that was the second week of the season.
The nice thing about Mac last year was, as frustrating as the fumbles were earlier in the year, it always seemed like it was 3 plays later he'd pop off like a 60-yard run and completely make up for it.
Gloves bemidjies, so I don't know what to tell you. I was excited just to see.
Maybe
Mac
Connor told him take those things off again.
He looked like an actual running back. It was great. Kevin's also another guy that I want to see have a really good year.
Durago?
Yep.
Yeah.
Big, just can really do anything. We like to hand the ball off to him. I call him a tight end. I know.
He was catching the ball a lot.
Yeah, that's what it's
scrimmage night.
I would say he's like a move tight end. Like
he's a tight end.
But the thing is like this team really didn't have a fullback last year, and
they did.
He basically became the guy in the middle that you get your hard yards. And so, I guess it would be kind of like a oversized flanker role, I guess is what you would, like in old school football is what you would call it, because he lines up everywhere and it's really tough. I would really love to see that heavy package come back in to play. Have some of these guys from the D-line come in like they had been in the past, I'm excited for Durago as well. And man, I tell you what, for a tight end / receiver / running back, that kid can block.
That's why he's a tight end. That's why I say he's a tight end.
Like, that kid can block, and that kid can run in traffic, and he will run over people.
Yeah, Rayfield's like the down tight end, so he's playing the more like Y rolling. Jacobs had, like he catches like 1 or 2 balls every time, like on a play action, but
they're long balls though. He was second receiving last year.
Yeah,
sneakily.
Yeah. Kevin's the dude that they can line up as, and move him all around, run counter plays to him, just because usually tight ends or guys of his size aren't able to run the ball as well and have that much agility to do that and look coordinated and actually good. And he looks really well. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's about all I got, gentlemen.
All right. Well, so just some more housekeeping things. Make sure you go over, like, if you've really enjoyed this little breakdown, and also you want to see where a lot of where Caleb gets all of these great insights that he has of all of the teams and the players. Check out MNHS, and also like and subscribe over there on YouTube, on Instagram, MNHS on everything.
Yep.
All right. And, I mean, he does a lot of hard work and has covered a lot of kids that, might not get that spotlight because they might be playing 9-man football. But this kid is really good. And, a lot of that is, my hat's off to Caleb for taking the time to go around. Make sure you go over to MNHS Network. Like and subscribe, hit that bell so you know when anything's on. Also, like and subscribe to us here at Lakes Area TV. Hit that bell so you know when it's on. Also, when is this podcast going to be on normally?
I think we'll see what Paul can do turnaround. This might have to be a day of sort of posting, but normally we'll record it earlier in the week and it'll be out on Thursday for you to listen to day before the game and get excited. We'll do a little recap of last week, preview of next week. Maybe we have Caleb on as a guest. Maybe we try and get Brad to come in as a guest, a player or two, but we'll try and get some sort of interview deal done. The wind almost finished cooperating right as we're wrapping up.
Right.
But yeah, we'll do that. And then this year, pregame, we'll be doing a small pregame show before. So tune in before the anthem to catch us doing goal line to goal line.
All right.
Pregame
so goal line to goal line, we're looking at like half hour before the game start or 15 minutes ish.
It'd be during warm-ups. I think we're going to have to feel it out week 1. And then week 2 we'll have or I guess it'll be week 3 we'll have a very
better idea
of it's all new stuff this year. But thank you guys for your time and watching, and we cannot wait to be calling games for you all this season.
And make sure you tune in Thursday. It's Thursday, right?
Yep. Games Thursday, 7 o'clock, Prior Lake at Forest Lake Area High School. So if you're not watching the stream, hopefully you're at the game.
All right.
Got the best fans in high school football.
I'm Joel Geist.
I'm Caleb Casa.
And I'm Noah Casa. We will talk to you guys on Thursday.
All right.
Have a great night.
Have a good one, everybody.